Welcome back to the Jack Colton Show. Tonight, we're taking you inside a nightmare. My guest, Daniel, thought he was just visiting his fiancée's family in their countryside manor. Instead, he walked into something out of the darkest Gothic horror and barely escaped with his life. Daniel, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jack. It's hard to even put into words. Sometimes I still wake up at night, feeling like I'm back there.
Let's start simple. Why were you at that manor?
Claire, my fiancée at the time, wanted me to meet her family. She'd been talking about it for months. They lived in this estate outside Birmingham, called The Grange. She described it like it was just some old family house. But when we got there, I realized it was more like a fortress.
What was the ride there like?
Quiet. Too quiet. Claire was usually nervous and chatty before big moments, but that night she didn't say much, just kept staring out the window. The road felt endless, a narrow path through overgrown trees, like we were driving into a tunnel. I remember thinking, this doesn't feel like visiting family. It feels like going somewhere you don't come back from.
So you arrive. What's the first thing that really stood out to you?
The house. The Grange wasn't just old, it looked ancient. A 3-story stone manor covered in ivy so thick it was swallowing the walls, narrow windows like black slits. And it didn't feel abandoned, it felt watchful. The car crunched over gravel as we pulled up. 2 people were waiting at the front door. I thought they were her parents, but Claire whispered, "That's just the staff."
Did they greet you?
Not really. They didn't look at me, just opened the door and stepped aside like they weren't allowed to speak unless spoken to. Inside, the air was colder than outside. The smell hit me first, old wood, dampness, and something else I couldn't place. Metallic, like rust. Then they appeared. Claire's parents, Eleanor and Alistair. Eleanor glided down the staircase first, tall, elegant, with this dark auburn hair pinned perfectly in place. She moved like she'd been rehearsing that entrance for years. Alistair followed. He was tall, gaunt, skin so pale it looked translucent.
How did they greet you?
Eleanor kissed me on both cheeks. Her lips were ice cold. Alistair shook my hand. His grip was strong but dead, like holding a mannequin's hand. And then there were the godparents, Gregory and Beatrice. Older, maybe in their 60s. They dressed like they'd stepped out of another century. When Gregory looked at me, I felt like I was being measured.
And Claire?
She changed. The second we walked through that door, it was like someone turned her off. No warmth, no small talk. She avoided my eyes.
Did they explain the house to you?
Eleanor did, in this rehearsed way. She said, "Dinner is at 8. Please be punctual. The east wing is off limits. Do not go outside after midnight. And the cellar is strictly forbidden for your safety."
That's oddly specific.
Yeah, it sounded less like house rules and more like threats. Then one of the staff, a young maid, took me to my room. She barely spoke, eyes glued to the floor. The room was beautiful. Massive oak bed, velvet curtains, antique furniture. But when I went to check the window, it wouldn't open.
Locked?
Nailed shut.
From the inside?
And the door, it had a lock, but only from the outside.
So they could lock you in?
Exactly. I tried to joke with the maid about it. "Guess you don't want me sneaking out, huh?" She just whispered, "Please don't make trouble," and left quickly. That's when it hit me. The staff weren't just quiet, they were terrified.
Did you tell Claire?
I tried. Caught her in the hall and said the windows were nailed shut. She just said, "It's an old house. Some things are better left alone," and walked away. That was the first time I thought, she's hiding something.
Let's talk about dinner.
It felt like a performance. The dining room was massive, ceiling so high the candlelight barely reached them.
a long mahogany table that could seat 20, but only 7 chairs were set. Eleanor at the head, Alistair beside her, Gregory and Beatrice across from me, and Claire next to me. The staff served roast duck, potatoes, bread. It smelled amazing, but no one ate.
No one?
Not a bite. Eleanor just sipped from this tall glass of deep red wine. The others had the same. When the candlelight hit it, I realized it wasn't wine. It was thicker.
Blood?
I didn't want to admit that to myself at the time, but yeah. The staff were trembling. At one point, the maid who'd shown me my room dropped a dish. It shattered. Alistair didn't yell. He just said, "Clean it up. Calm." But there was so much venom in his tone that she froze before crawling on the floor to pick up the shards with her bare hands.
Did anyone talk to you?
Gregory leaned in at one point. He smiled. His teeth were wrong, too sharp. And he said, "Do you believe in tradition, Daniel?" I laughed nervously. I guess it depends on the tradition. He chuckled, but his eyes, they weren't amused. They were hungry.
And Claire?
She barely spoke, wouldn't meet my eyes, like she wasn't really there.
And that's when you left the table.
Yeah, I said I needed the restroom. Eleanor gave me these precise directions. Down the hall, 3rd door on the left. But I must have taken a wrong turn. The carpet ended. My shoes clicked on cold stone. The air got heavier. It didn't feel like the same house anymore. That's when I saw it. A heavy steel door, slightly ajar. No handle, no markings.
And you went in?
I shouldn't have, but I did. The smell hit me first. Metallic, like rust. Mixed with something sweet, like rotting flowers. The room was bare. Just concrete walls, no furniture. Except for one thing in the center. A coffin.
An actual coffin?
Old, ornate, covered in strange carvings. I don't know what made me do it. Curiosity? Stupidity? But I walked up and put my hands on the lid. It was cold. Freezing. And I opened it.
Oh, God.
Inside was a corpse. Or I thought it was. Skin gray, peeling, lips cracked, his chest barely moving, like every breath was a struggle. And then his eyes snapped open.
He saw you?
Yellow, cloudy eyes. They locked on mine. And he made this horrible sound, like a growl mixed with a death rattle. I slammed the lid and bolted.
You ran straight back to dinner?
Yeah, my heart was hammering so loud I could barely hear myself think. When I stepped into the dining room, the whole table went silent. Eleanor, Alistair, Gregory, Beatrice, they all turned their heads to me at the same time, like they'd been waiting.
Like they knew where you'd been.
Exactly. Eleanor smiled, not a warm smile, a knowing one. "Did you find what you were looking for?" she asked. I stammered some excuse about getting lost. Alistair just said, "The East Wing is off limits for a reason." His voice was so low it vibrated in my chest. Claire didn't say a word, didn't even look at me. "You must have been terrified." That's when it clicked. The wine, the rules, the nailed-shut windows, they weren't human. Dinner ended in silence. No one even pretended to eat. When I left the dining room, the maid from earlier was waiting by the stairs. She whispered, barely audible, "Leave before dawn, or you won't leave at all." Then she scurried off before I could say a word.
Did you try to leave?
I had to. Around midnight, when the house was dead quiet, I grabbed my phone and crept out of my room. Every step on those wooden stairs creaked like gunfire. I made it to the front door. It was massive, old oak reinforced with iron. I pulled on the handle. Locked. There was a steel bolt the size of my arm across it. No way I was opening it quietly. I tried the windows in the foyer. Same as my room. Nailed shut. So you were trapped. Completely. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. I ducked into the shadows behind a pillar. That's when I saw them, Alistair and Gregory, just gliding through the hall. Their skin almost glowed in the candlelight. They weren't looking for me. They knew where I was. Gregory stopped, sniffed the air, then smiled, this awful, sharp-toothed smile, and said, "Still awake, little guest?"
He said that?
Like he was enjoying himself. I didn't move, didn't breathe. They stood there for a while like they were listening to my heartbeat. Then they walked toward the stairs. I didn't wait to see if they'd come back. I ran from my room. When I got inside, I closed the door and just stood there, clutching a lamp like a weapon. That's when I heard 3 slow knocks.
On your door?
And Eleanor's voice. "Daniel, wandering is very rude."
She talked to you through the door?
Yeah, her voice was calm, too calm. "You mustn't sneak around, Daniel," she said. "It makes us restless." I didn't answer. My back was pressed against the door, gripping that lamp like it was going to save me. Then she chuckled, soft, low. "You've seen him, haven't you, grandfather?"
She said that?
Yeah, like she was savoring it. Then came scratching, fingernails on the wood, slow, deliberate. "Don't worry, you'll meet him properly soon." And then silence. I didn't sleep. Every creak of the house felt like footsteps coming closer. At one point, the doorknob turned, slowly. But they didn't come in.
Why not?
Because they were playing with me. That's when it really hit me. I wasn't a guest, I was a toy.
So what happened when the sun came up?
I waited until I heard movement downstairs. The staff, not them. I needed answers. I found the young maid in the kitchen, scrubbing the same copper pot over and over like she was in a trance. When she saw me, she flinched. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "They'll know." I begged her to talk to me, told her I'd help her get out if she helped me. That's when she broke.
Broke?
She started shaking, said her name was Alice. She'd been at the Grange for 2 years. Her family had sold her to the house to pay off their debts.
They bought her?
Yes. She wasn't staff. None of them were. They were property. Then she told me about him,
Grandfather.
Eleanor's father. Alice said he'd been alive for centuries, that he only woke to feed, and that's why they brought guests. She said I was the first fiancée Claire ever brought home, and the first offering grandfather had been promised in years.
So you were food?
Exactly. That's when I knew if I didn't leave that night, I'd end up like everyone else whose names were probably carved somewhere in that house.
So you and Alice decided to escape?
We didn't have a choice. She told me the front gates were locked and guarded. The only way out was through the old wine cellar tunnels that led deep into the woods. But only the family had keys.
So you needed to steal them?
Exactly. Alice said Beatrice, one of the godparents, kept a ring of keys by her bedside. We'd have to get them while she slept. That day felt like the longest of my life. I had to act normal, eat breakfast with them, smile at Eleanor, sit in the drawing room with Gregory while he read the paper like some kind of gentleman. But every time one of them looked at me, I felt like they were peering through my skin.
And Claire?
She avoided me completely. No eye contact, no small talk. It's like she'd already accepted what I was there for. Alice told me to meet her in the laundry room at midnight. She'd distract the night staff so we could get into Beatrice's room.
Were you scared?
I was petrified, but the fear of staying outweighed the fear of running.
So you went for the keys that night?
Yeah, just past midnight. Alice was waiting in the laundry room, pale as a ghost. She handed me a burlap sack. "For the keys," she whispered. We crept up the staircase, every step groaning under our weight. Beatrice's room was at the far end of the west wing. The door was cracked open. Inside, the air smelled like perfume and something rancid beneath it.
And she was sleeping?
Lying perfectly still on her bed. Too still. Her hands folded on her stomach like a corpse in a coffin. On the nightstand, the keys. I tiptoed over, heart pounding so hard I was sure it would wake her.
My fingers closed around the ring. That's when I heard it. What? Her voice. Going somewhere, little mouse? She was awake. Her eyes snapped open, yellow, reflective in the dim light. She didn't move at first, just smiled slowly. Alice whimpered. I grabbed her hand, yanked her toward the door. Beatrice let out this low, guttural laugh, not human. We bolted, the keys jangling in my hand. Behind us, I heard her whisper, "Run."
So you got the keys. What next?
We ran for the cellar door. It was in the back corridor behind the kitchen. The whole time, the house felt alive, creaking, whispering. I fumbled with the keys, trying to find the right one. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped them twice. And then I heard it.
What?
Footsteps. Several pairs. Slow, deliberate. Alice froze. "They're awake," she whispered. I jammed the keys into the lock until one finally turned. The door groaned as it opened. We slipped inside, slammed it shut behind us, and bolted down the stone steps. The air hit me first. Damp, moldy, thick with the smell of death. My phone's flashlight barely cut through the dark. The tunnel walls were lined with scratches, words, names, hundreds of them, some with dates. Alice muttered, "Everyone who came here and never left."
That's horrifying.
We kept moving, the sound of our footsteps echoing in the tight space. Then Gregory's voice echoed from behind us. "Run, little mice! We like when they run!"
He was following you?
All of them were. Eleanor, Alistair, Gregory. I heard their laughter bouncing off the walls. They weren't chasing us to catch us quickly, they were savoring it.
So they were hunting you.
Exactly. We turned a corner and saw it, an old wooden door ahead, the exit. Alice limped. She twisted her ankle on the stairs. I dragged her as fast as I could. But when I tried the door, it wouldn't open. I dropped the keys, fumbling in the dark, trying every single one, while Alice kept whispering, "Hurry, please, hurry." And then I felt it. A hand on my shoulder, ice cold.
Oh my God.
I spun around and saw Alistair, towering over me, teeth bared. His eyes glowed like a predator's. He lunged. I swung the key ring as hard as I could into his face. He hissed, this inhuman animal sound. It gave us just enough time to find the right key. The lock clicked. We shoved the door open and burst into the night.
Did they follow?
Oh, they didn't stop. The woods behind the manor were endless. Black trees, swampy ground. I could hear them gliding through it like ghosts, always just behind us. Eleanor's voice carried through the dark. "You can run, little mice, but the woods are ours."
How did you get away from them in the woods?
We ran until we couldn't anymore. My lungs burned, my legs felt like they'd give out. Alice could barely move on her ankle. That's when we saw it, an old hunting shed, falling apart but standing. I dragged her inside and shut the door, pressing my back against it. Through the cracks in the wood, I saw them. Eleanor, Gregory, just standing there in the trees, perfectly still, smiling.
Why didn't they come in?
Alice whispered, "They like fear. They like when we wait for them." We stayed silent. My heart was so loud I thought it would give us away. Then I heard Eleanor's voice, right outside the shed. "You'll leave when we say you can, little mouse. Not before." And then silence. We didn't move. Didn't breathe. I don't know how long we stayed like that. Hours. Eventually, pale light crept through the cracks. Dawn. When I looked again, they were gone.
So you made it out alive.
At first light, yeah. We left the shed and kept moving, Alice leaning on me. Every step felt like my body would collapse, but I didn't stop. Eventually, we stumbled onto a dirt road. After maybe an hour of walking, a delivery truck appeared. The driver took one look at us, filthy, bleeding, and let us climb into the back. He drove us to the nearest village.
Did you go to the police?
First thing, we told them everything. The manor, the coffin, the people hunting us. They didn't believe a word.
said Eleanor and Alistair were respected members of the community, that the Grange was historic private property. When I insisted they check, they promised they'd look into it. They never did.
And Alice?
She stayed at a safe house. For a week. Then one day she vanished. Packed up her things and left, without a trace. I tried calling, but her number was dead. I know what happened. They took her back. And clear? She sent me one text. Don't come back. That's it.
Daniel, do you think they're still out there?
I know they are. And I know they haven't forgotten me.
Some doors should never be opened. Some invitations should never be accepted. Daniel's story is a chilling reminder that monsters often wear the faces of the polite, the charming, the familiar. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and as always, thank you for listening. This is Jack Colton, signing off.